Good morning. Good morning. I'm not Raven Whittington, but I am your MC today. My name is Jessica Penman. I'm the president and CEO of the Truckee Chamber of Commerce. Thank you all so much for being here today for our first Good Morning Truckee of 2025, flipping the script on housing and talking about some success stories in our community. I'm really excited about this program, and I'm excited for kind of a community conversation at the end after listening to our presenters. So our four presenters today are Brittany Johansson, who's a recipient of the THAP Buyer Program, Corey Elba, who's an artist and resident at the Artist Lofts, Aaron Hussein, who is a Lease to Locals landlord, as well as other things in the housing space, and Cynthia Fang, who is a recipient of the Tahoe Forest Home Purchase Assistance Program and purchased in Hopkins Village. So again, thank you all for coming. We have a packed program today, but we're going to go ahead and get started by going around the room and doing introductions. So why don't we start with the front table? Thank you for sitting in the front.
Crystal Sumner. I work at TTCF.
Sure.
Christine Pettit, program director at the Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation.
Jan Zabriskie, Truckee Town Council, and Nevada County Transportation Commission.
Louise Zabriskie, new library project, friends of the Truckee Library.
Amber Dotson, first name spelled A-M-B-E-R-A, the A on it is silent. Middle name is silent A photography.
That's cute.
My mom loves the name. She loves it. It's great.
Good morning, everybody. Jen Calloway, town manager.
Tony Lashbrecht, Watershed Council Board. Jim Porter, retired.
David Sherman, Tahoe Housing Hub Board.
Ernie Grossman, support of the library.
Yay! Kathleen Egan, new library project, friends of the Truckee Library Board.
Kate Schaefer, East River PR and Marketing Chamber Board.
Amber, yeah.
I am Amber Burke. I am with the Tahoe Truckee Unified School District and the Chamber Board.
Nancy Costello, Tahoe Truckee Brokers.
Bill Kenny, Tahoe Truckee Brokers.
Leanne Jacuzzi, Kids Zone, and retired dietitian.
Brad Thomas, Truckee resident, retired anesthesiologist.
Go ahead, Lynn.
Lynn Baumgartner, Town of Truckee Housing Analyst.
Morning, Ricardo Maciel from North Star Transportation.
Hilda Vasquez, North Star Transportation Manager.
Heidi, let's go back to you. Yeah.
Heidi Alstead, Truckee Tahoe Workforce Housing Agency.
Robert Verwerda, retired civil engineer.
Gerald Herring, Truckee Fire Board. Good morning, Colin O'Hanlon, Martis Camp Club.
From Alex Wahey with Village Camp Truckee, formerly known as Coach Truckee Board.
Tina Schwartz with Village Camp Truckee.
I'm Valerie. I'm enjoying this quiche. Dixon Realty.
Barb Wilkinson, Dixon Realty.
Katrina Johnson, Humane Society of Truckee Tahoe.
Gary Gunter, Quality Automotive Servicing and German Import Garage.
Go to the back.
Hi, I'm Eli Ramos. I'm from the Sierra Sun, so I'm covering the event today if you see me running around with a camera.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Tyler Jameson, Ski Butlers.
Jessica Gross, Ski Builders Manager in Truckee.
Andy Stewart, Nevada County.
Marissa Renner, Mountain Area Preservation. Laurel Burlingame, Town of Truckee.
Mark Leslie with Truckee Sanitary District and the Truckee Owner Record Park Pool.
Tony Sanders with Truckee Sanitary District.
You walked in just in time to introduce yourself.
Sal Gimbert, Eisen Architecture. Nice to meet everyone.
I wouldn't do that to everyone, but I knew you would.
She knows me, so I guess that's why.
Before I introduce our first speaker, I do want to thank our 2025 sponsors for Good Morning Truckee. Presenting sponsors, we have Kelly Brothers Painting and Tahoe Forest Healthcare System. Our latte sponsors, Town of Truckee, PT Revolution, Schaefer's Mill Golf, Ski and Lake Club, Moonshine Inc., Tahoe Truckee Media, Truckee Tahoe Unified School District, Sierra Sun, 101.5 Truckee Tahoe Radio, and Porter Simon Law Offices. Our cappuccino sponsors, Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation, Gold Ring Travel, Boreal Mountain Resort and Woodward Tahoe, East River Public Relations and Marketing, JKAE, Tyrek, Trout Creek Outfitters, and Auerbach Engineering. Our espresso sponsors, Mountain Hardware and Sports, Mount Lincoln Construction, Tahoe Dave's, Peak Digital Studio, Dixon Realty, LP Insurance Services, and the Contractors Association of Truckee Tahoe. So they helped us to reach our goal this year to continue to be able to offer this program, and we're very, very thankful for them. Oops, didn't mean to do that. All right, so our first speaker today is going to be Brittany, who is a recipient of the THAP Buyer Program. Brittany has served as a professional staff member with the Truckee Police Department since May 2020. She supervises the Support Services Division encompassing police records, property and evidence, and the downtown parking district. After moving to the Tahoe Basin on a whim in 2019, Brittany was grateful to get the opportunity to make Truckee forever home with her husband Evan and their fur kids. Just quickly on what the THAP program is. So the goal of the Town of Truckee Housing Program is to strengthen our community economy and environment by increasing the inventory of homes for our local workers that our local workers can afford to rent and buy. The town has a number of existing programs and policies in place that aim to facilitate workforce housing creation and preservation. So the Truckee Home Access Program, or THAP, preserves and protects homes to create places for people who work full-time in the Truckee region to live locally. THAP pays buyers, sellers, and local businesses up to $150,000 to reserve homes for income-qualified local workers using a 55-year deed restriction. Did I say all that right, Lynn?
Perfect.
Great. All right, Brittany, I'll turn it over to you.
Good morning. Jess told me I have 10 minutes, so I'm going to ramble a lot, but I'll try to keep this brief. I initially came to Tahoe in February of 2019. Prior to that, my then fiance and I at the time were living in the East Bay area. We had both grown up there and thought, you know, this is just our next path. We're going to get married, we're going to buy a house, and then we realized we live in the East Bay area. We can't buy a house out there. So we decided, really on a whim, moved in about 2 weeks to move to a different affluent community of Incline Village, Nevada. When I initially moved to Tahoe, I was working for TTSD. That's the sanitation district. We were struggling to get by, but we made it work. We got married in December of 2019, and something happened the next year that changed our housing plans. We thought we'll be able to afford something, maybe not in Incline, but somewhere else that we can thrive. And then COVID happened, and the housing prices went up drastically. So we were looking at the same kind of potential future of not being able to afford housing, but still wanting to be in the community and working for government agencies. So when I moved out to Incline, we got some information about the Truckee Housing Assistance Program. Our journey, if anybody wants to know, it was somewhat challenging. The program is a little bit strict in its guidelines, but we were able to navigate that very well. And I remember we were paired with a realtor within the program that knew about THAP and how to navigate that for us and help us along in that process. And even so, home prices were still very expensive. So I remember feeling, even throughout this program, that it just wasn't going to work for us. And then that one magical day happened that we were able to find a home that worked, that we could afford. And thankfully, the sellers were wanting to sell it to someone that would make it a forever home, which is the goal here. I can't tell you how much actually living in the community that I serve has made me so much more invested in it. Being able to actually see the people that I serve in the community, being able to shop at their businesses and support them, has been invaluable to me as a Town of Truckee employee. So I'm very grateful for the program, for giving me a place to land and hopefully stay here for years and years. Does anyone have any questions about the program? Yes.
Maybe I missed a little more detail specifically on how the deal worked for you.
how it would work.
How it did work for you.
Oh, I see. So when we initially applied, we had to be accepted into the housing assistance program. So that means that our financials were looked at. There are some specifics that I'm happy to get into if you want to go even deeper in that way. But we had to apply. We had to prove our monthly income, which did include various assets that, even though we weren't necessarily benefiting from those on a monthly basis, the program still counted those as income. So that was something that was a challenge that I had mentioned. We also had to be matched with a realtor. So we had to find that realtor within the program, which thankfully Town of Truckee website is very detailed on who's eligible to be in that program. As well as a broker. So we did have to be pre-approved for our mortgage and what that amount would be. And then we started looking at what THAP would offer us when we found the home that we wanted to purchase. So the amount of money that was allocated to us was determined after our income was settled and we were able to give a purchase price for the home, and that was 15%. The other thing that I should mention is that we decided to use the funds for our down payment, but that's not a requirement of the program. So if you have enough money secured for that down payment, you can use this for home repairs, you can use this to expand the home, things like that. So, yeah, thank you. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, so Town of Truckee's website is wonderful for that. It's called the Truckee Housing Assistance Program. I was just on there this morning refreshing my memory because it's been a couple years since I was qualified. But they have everything, even if you're a seller in the program as well. So of course I was coming at it from the buyer's perspective, but if you want to put up your home for sale as part of the THAP program, there's information on how to do that as well. Yes?
How does the deed restriction work, 55-year deed restriction?
Ooh, I'm gonna maybe have Lynn jump on that a little bit for specifics.
Yeah, I can do a little technical answer. So it's a 55-year deed restriction that renews on transfer or resale, so it's essentially in perpetuity, and it limits the sale to another household that qualifies both income and local workers. So when the home is sold, unless you do own it for 55 years, you'll need to sell it to someone who works, a household with at least one person that works locally who meets the area median income limit, which is pretty high, 245% of median income. And then the house needs to be a full-time residence, so it can't be short-term rented. You can rent it to a qualified local worker, and you don't have to stay. After purchase, your income can go up. You could get a remote job. The requirements are only upon purchase, and then there is no price cap. The home, obviously has to be affordable to someone who meets those income requirements, but there's no like artificial price gap or appreciation cap or anything.
Thank you.
How many people are benefited by this?
That's a great question,
and how
too.
much money is in the kitty?
So we just we're closing hopefully this week on our 24th house. So I can't remember I should have looked this up off the top of my head exactly how many people that is. So it's 24 households. So it's over 50 people at this point. I think maybe 55 household members that have benefited. And the average, as Brittany mentioned, the price, the amount is based on the home sales price. And so the average is about $110,000 per home. Just with the variation in price. So we've spent about 2.6 million, and we do have funds left for this fiscal year. I think we have around 500,000 left, or no, I think we have close to 800,000 left in this fiscal year. So we anticipate being able to do, 6 to 9 more homes depending on the purchase price.
So yeah. I just wanted to, it sounds like once this deed restriction is in place, that another buyer cannot come along for that same property and use the down payment assistance again.
Exactly.
Okay.
You can't, a second buyer cannot use THAP because it's already been deed restricted. We do work with other funding sources, for example, Martis Fund. So we have had several purchases go through that use both THAP and Martis Fund. And since Martis Fund is paid back, upon sale, they can use MARTA's fund. It just depends. That's the only one we've worked with so far, but we're open to other programs as well.
Is there a lot of competition for buyers to access this program, or you find that you have plenty of funds to cover everyone who wants it?
Well, there's the limiting factor is generally the homes that are priced affordably to the program participants. In the last fiscal year, we did actually use all the money twice. We went back to council, and council put more money into this program. They saw how successful it was. This year, we put enough funds in to do 15 homes, which is what we did in the last fiscal year. And we are steadily using it, but we haven't, it doesn't seem like we're gonna run out of funds this year unless there's a whole big run on homes in the summer, which sometimes there are. But the limiting factor at this point has been more the homes that are available,
Yeah, the maximum, I printed this off this morning, maximum purchase price is $937,500. So finding a home that's ideal within those conditions, that was a challenge, to be frank. But once we found the one, and Lynn, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but when you apply and you're accepted, that application lasts for 6 months until it needs to be refreshed again with updated income, proof of those matters, so.
6 months.
So we had that window, which helped quite a bit. Yes, sir.
I know this is a Truckee program, this is Truckee money. How about the participants? Is this geographically sensitive?
Yes.
You came from Incline Village.
Correct.
Can anybody at the lake come into Truckee and participate?
It has more to do, at least my takeaway, with employment. So as long as you're within that TTUSD school district border, you have full-time employment within here, you qualify. So that did work out for us in that case, yes.
And this is just for homes within the town limits, it doesn't include
Correct.
like any.
It does, so for example,
Okay.
Jessica in Hopkins Village, that wouldn't have qualified us because it's in Placer County.
Even though it's in the school district, but it needs to be in the town limits of Truckee.
Correct, yeah, it's Town of Truckee funds.
Right, but Placer County has a similar program.
Correct, yes, but we did not qualify for that one, if I'm remembering correctly.
The Placer County program is the Workforce Housing Preservation Program, and it has a no income limit, but you do have to continue to work within the school district boundaries after purchase, so that's one way the program is slightly different.
Yes.
Yeah, so right now we have projected funding out for the next 4 fiscal years. We don't anticipate ending the program because it's been so successful, but it will just depend on, it's up to council to put the funding in the budget annually. It is something that we budget annually, and every year council has been very supportive of this program, but it depends on what council wants to do with our housing funds.
Okay.
There might be more questions once we hear from everyone, so keep your questions coming. Thank you. All right. Next up, we have Corey Elba, who is an artist and resident at the Artist Lofts. She moved here 3.5 years ago and is a Los Angeles-based flight attendant, an illustrator, and a musician. And like I said, she currently resides in the Artist Lofts, and she's gonna put a human face to the Artist Lofts for us, the good and the bad.
Not the riffraff face.
Hello, good morning. How are you? I feel like a fish out of water here, I'll admit. When I walked in, I was like, oh my god, am I in a courtroom? What's going on? It's freaky. And my family, I need a picture of me up here. My parents will never believe that I was asked to speak at a Chamber of Commerce. Like, what? Are you sure? What's going on? For my mom. Okay, thanks. They're gonna be like, what? Okay. Cut me off after I talk a lot, so 10 minutes, I don't know if that's enough. Okay, so anyways, my name's Corey, and I've been a flight attendant for almost 15 years. I'm on my 3rd airline now, but they have me for life at this moment. They kind of do that too. I'm really grateful. I have a really amazing life, and I was born in Salem, Massachusetts, actually, but then I grew up in Florida. So the irony is that when I moved here 3.5 years ago, it's a coworker, was born and raised in Truckee. I won't say his name, I'm sure everyone knows him, but like, he brought me here because I was going through, I ended a 7-year relationship and my sister got sick. So I kind of moved in with my sister to be her caregiver and didn't have a place to live anymore. And he's like, why don't you just come to Truckee? You can stay at my house. I'm going on a yoga retreat and you can like figure out, maybe you'll like Truckee. So I moved here, I think it was April of 2021, and just was staying at my friend's house, and I ended up getting a temporary housing situation on Donner Lake at that brown building, that old, what is it, when you pass like Rock Street on Donner Lake. I got like a studio there, but it was like weird. The lady was like, well, it's an Airbnb, but I do have it open a couple times. So I would just kind of like go stay there for 3 days and then go back to my friend's house. And it was just kind of like, I got a job illustrating, I illustrated 3 children's books. So I went there to work on the books, and I'd wake up every morning at like 5:30, go to the lake, journal, and like do my books. Then I met my now best friend, Amy, and she was doing my hair, and she said, why don't you look into the artist lofts? And I was like, what's that? And she's like, oh, they're building this like artist housing in downtown Truckee. And I'm like, they are? And she goes, yeah. And I'm like, okay, great. So I applied. And I'm gonna be honest, like I got really lucky because I applied and I got a phone call like a couple days later, and they're like, good news, we have a spot for you. The bad news is it's really expensive. And I was like, what? Like I thought this was like, I'm confused. I thought this was like low income housing. But the catch is, at the time, I was on a furlough from work because of COVID. So I was on a 15-month furlough from work. I was on unemployment when I got in, and I was making more money on unemployment than I do as a flight attendant, which is so messed up for so many other reasons. But I ended up getting a spot, which I was so grateful. I mean, just to get a place to live and be alone was huge. Like, I was like so excited. I mean, before I was taking care of my sister, my ex-boyfriend and I were living in a truck camper. His idea. I'm just like, whatever. I had running water, so I was like stoked. And then I got a studio. I live on the 4th floor of the artist loft, studio apartment, and I don't know how I got so lucky to have no neighbors. Like, I don't have anyone on either side of me. I have a corner unit, and it feels, I was like, this is crazy. Like, is this real? And even the people when I moved in were like, this is a good unit. And I was like, awesome. But I did move in there so early that they were still building most of it. So it felt like The Shining. It was just kind of me and the artist lofts for a while. Because I think it was about 6 months until people started moving in. So it was kind of just me living at the artist lofts, and it was cool. I got to be friends with all the construction workers, making them brownies and stuff. And honestly, like, I moved here, I didn't even know, like, I knew it snowed here, but I didn't understand. People were like, oh, do you ski and snowboard? I'm like, no, like, what? Like, that's like a thing? Yeah, I had no idea. Like, that's how clueless I was when I moved here. I didn't even know. And I was like, oh, wow, there's a lot of snow. Cool, I'm from Florida. Like, this is fun. And it's, like, real, it's cool. It's not even that cold here. Like, you go to, like, the East Coast, that's cold. Like, my mom doesn't understand when I'm out here in a hoodie. She's like, aren't you cold? I'm like, it's not that cold. But anyways, I moved into the artist lofts, and I ended up, a couple months in, I had this, like, I went to yoga, and I was like, oh my god, I had this vision of like me playing drums, and I was like, I've always wanted to play the drums, so I bought a drum set, and I started playing drums at 33 years old. And the artist lofts gave me that opportunity because you're allowed to be, in my lease, you are allowed to be as loud as you want from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. It's in the lease. So I would play drums every day for like 6 to 9 hours a day. And I took lessons at Split Rock, and I basically learned how to play the drums. Within 6 months, I had a band. Now I've been in 4 bands, and I just released my solo EP called Full Stop. Has over 10,000 streams on Spotify already, but I'm really proud of this, and I will say the town of Truckee, as a flight attendant, it can sometimes feel a little like I'm a poser living here because I'm not here all the time, but when I'm here, I really do my best to like be here. A couple Truckee Thursdays ago, I was a featured, they had like it's the orange tent, and forgive me if I don't, thank you, yeah, the Cultural District tent. They had me as like a featured artist one year, so I was like, oh cool, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I think I really love zines. Does anyone here know what a zine is? Okay, it's a mini magazine. I was like, I'm going to make a Truckee zine. It's an 18-page, it's took me 16 and a half hours to illustrate, but I did a welcome to Truckee, and it's just like highlighting all the local businesses, my favorite places. And I made like 100 of these, and I ended up, this is the last one in print, and I have it here. If anyone wants to look at it after, you may. Just make sure your hands are clean. And this, I ended up making this just kind of like to show my love and support for all the small businesses here that I love. And Truckee really has like, I mean, there's some things, of course, that I'm like, I don't know, the skiing and snowboarding thing, I'm like, does anyone not do that? Like, anyways, so I bought my drum set, everything was great, and then they opened the music room, which was huge for me, because once the music room was open, I was able to, like, my neighbors were all very supportive once people started moving in. I mean, I'm very, very lucky. There's a lot going on at the artist lofts that I try to stay out of, but for the most part, for me, it's great. And I will say, like I said, I come and go so much. Like, I'm, like, leaving again tomorrow. At the most, I'm home for like a week straight. That's like huge when I'm home for a week. I'm like, oh my God, a whole week. But I really have to say, like, as far as my rent goes, it's frustrating because since I was brought in, I'm in an 80% income unit. So the way it works is like, if you make, some of the units are 40%, there's like 60%, and I'm 80%, which means that I'm paying, now my rent's increased so much, I'm paying $1,400 for a studio. I live alone. I'm on a flight attendant salary. Even though my seniority's great, my pay is a joke. Like, we don't get paid, flight attendants are not paid for all the time they're at work. We're only paid for flight hours. So I'm not paid for boarding, I'm not paid for, flight attendants we deserve so much better. But, you know, I get my free flight, so that's fine. But, you know, at the end of the day, I'm grateful for my space, and I have gone to them and asked if I could switch units, but they said the only way that I could switch units is if I switch into another 80% income unit. I'd have to redo the entire application process again in order to get a unit that fits my income level. So I've just been hustling. I do Instacart on the side. I do all my art, which helps. And I will say I did get the grant, the small artist grant and I had a CD release party at the Good Wolf. So this town has been really helpful and like supportive of my art. And honestly, like, I'm really grateful for all the open mics in town. I just really, if anyone plays disc golf, or anyone has any sons that play disc golf, I have a couple of these in my bag, and I'll give them to you for free, but it's a comic I made about disc golf. But yeah, I'm an illustrator, I love drawing, I love playing music, and the Artist Lofts has really been huge in helping me with my art. And they're even, I think for Truckee Thursdays this year, they said that they're going to allow us to do a whole gallery. Like every week they're going to feature a different artist. So if I have the time, I'm thinking of doing that, and then you'll have the whole gallery to yourself to show your art. So that'd be great. So I'm just grateful for Truckee. This is a really beautiful place to live. And like I said, I'm sitting here, I don't understand half the things you're talking about, but with the housing, it's confusing to me. I mean, all I know is, like, in my generation at least, and like what I experience is that if you, like, I don't want kids, and I'm not sure about the whole, I'm kind of done with dudes at the moment, so I'm just kind of like, it's just me, right? Like, it's me, and it's just me and my art, and I work really hard, and I'm grateful for my housing, but I will say the reason that I feel like I have been a success is because I work really hard, and I show up for myself every day, and I'm like, I have a lot of passion, and I think it's easy to fall into negative habits and patterns, especially in this town. It feels almost like a bubble, and I'm really grateful to be able to leave the bubble and get other experiences. I stopped drinking 4 years ago, so luckily I don't get distracted by that. But there's a lot of, like, I don't know. There's been a couple things at the Artist Lofts that haven't been so great, but overall it's been great for me, and I'm very lucky. And like I said, I got lucky with my placement in the building, because there's a lot. I will say it's frustrating to pull up to the Artist Lofts after working 19 flight hours in 3 days, being exhausted, coming home, and seeing people that just are sitting out there chain smoking cigarettes all day and not doing anything. It bothers me. Like, I understand that people have mental health issues, my own sister, like, I get it, like, I understand, but it's a little hard when I'm like, all right, I just worked so hard, here's all my money, and I guess I'm just gonna go into debt with my art, because that's just the reality. Like, it's hard, but I do believe that if I just keep working hard, it will all work out. And like I said, I'm just grateful to have housing because I know it's really like a dime a dozen to find a good spot. And I'm really grateful to live alone. I love living alone. I love it. Like, I don't ever want to live with anyone again. I don't know. Especially a man. I'm good. But I know, I'm just really grateful. And thank you. I really appreciate you letting me speak because I feel, like I said, fish out of water. But I'm very grateful. And fun fact that my Full Stop EP is inspired by a ticket I got at the Bridge Street intersection for not fully stopping. And I actually wrote Full Stop at the Truckee courthouse. And so when I walked in here, that's why I was like, oh God. But yeah, I was like really annoyed because I was just going out to buy a box of tampons and he gave me a ticket. So like, I don't know. There was no, I don't know if the cop's here, I don't know. I do want him to hear this though, but yeah, anyways. Like I said, if anyone wants a little comic later, I got some, and if you want to check out that Truckee zine, I'll have it. But yeah, I don't know if anyone has any questions for me in the artist lofts, but yeah.
Have you ever considered a career in marketing?
Oh, I mean, I am a marketer. I market myself every day. I'm out there. You guys are like, yeah, no, I am a marketer though. That's being an artist. You are. If you want to be a good artist, a successful artist, you must be good at marketing. I do it all. Like I do a lot. Like I've also I was an art teacher for a minute at the rec center by the art softs, the older rec center. Yeah, my friend was like in charge of and I was like teaching kids art. But honestly, I love children, but in small amounts and maybe like one at a time. I don't know. The whole like lots of kids. Like I get overwhelmed when I go to work and they're like, oh, we have like 6 UMs, like unaccompanied minors, and I'm like, I have to take care of these 6 kids. Jeez, okay, yeah.
Have you ever considered a career in humor and comedy?
Oh yeah, just listen to my record. You'll laugh. Oh,
Have
you heard of the Follies?
Yeah. Join the Follies.
The wait, what?
We'll talk later.
Okay, yeah. What is it? I feel like I've heard it. Yeah, no, I will, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, Truckee is a great place to live. I tell everyone a lot of people don't know what it is when I say I live in Truckee. They're like, what's that? And I'm like, oh, it's this really cute town that's like near Lake Tahoe. But I will say it's a little, sometimes I'm like, believe me, I've gone snowboarding a couple times. It's cool, but it just takes up my whole day, and I just like want to spend my day creating. And I feel like now my whole body hurts and half my day's gone. Like it's cool, it's fun, but it's kind of like, okay, been there, done that. Like snowboarding's cool. I have like the boots in my car. Sometimes people are like, oh, I have an extra board. If someone's like, here, I have a pass and a board and I'll drive you, then yeah, maybe I'll go. But like, it's a lot of work. And pardon my Yiddish, but it's very schleppy. Like, you know, you just gotta like, and all I do is schlep. I'm a flight attendant. Like, I don't want to schlep more. So, but yeah, I don't know if there's any more questions for Artist Lofts. I don't know. Yeah.
Talk about the turnover in your neighborhood.
Oh, the turnover.
Yeah, I mean, what does that feel like?
It feels like watching a movie, a weird movie. No, I'll say like I said, my floor, I'm very lucky. My floor, I've had consistent neighbors almost the entire time, which is like crazy because I see people in and out all the time. It's like a revolving door. And I have seen people that are like legit, and I don't want to like diminish art. Like everyone's an artist. We are all creative beings. That is, and I will, yeah, die on that hill. But we're all here to create. But I have seen artists that like are legit artists. Like they have Etsy shops and they're trying really hard and they just feel like they can't. I will say I don't know how to say, I always say I'm in the good building. But like I'm in the building that's like where the Artist Loft, I'm really bad to, please help. It's the one that's farthest away from downtown. The one with the Artist Loft sign. Yeah, thank you. So the other building, and I understand, like, I actually did live in Section 8 housing when I used to live in Berkeley, and I've lived in, like, 12 different cities my whole life. But I understand, right? But the turnover is interesting because it's just constant. It's people, and I've witnessed a lot of unfortunate incidents, and I have unfortunately been solicited for, I don't even want to say it up here because it just feels real wrong, but it happened, and I've been asked uncomfortable things as I'm on my way to grocery outlet, like at 9:30 at night, and it's like, I am a street smart girl. I'm a flight attendant. I'm always by myself. I'm a New York Jew, you know, like I don't, savvy. Like, you know, I have my head on a swivel. I'm a woman, you know, like, but artist lofts, I don't know. There's a lot going on. And I do feel generally safe there because I have my neighbors are great. I don't know how I got blessed with this woman that lives across the hall that is just like my biggest fan. She's just like, you're the reason I'm not gonna die poor because you're gonna hit it big and I'm gonna get all your money. I'm like, whatever. Like, I will. Like, any neighbor that's supportive of a drummer is like, yeah. But I don't know. I like I said, I'm here, but I'm also not here. Like, I'm constantly traveling. I was just in Korea last week. I'm going to Japan in 2 weeks. Like, I do a lot of art shows in Asia, so I'm like there doing my art, and I'm, like I said, sometimes I feel a little bit like, oh my God, do I deserve to live here? And I'm like, no. Like, flight attendants need homes too, you know? Like, I'm out there giving my energy to the public all the time, and I am a great flight attendant, so I deserve a good home, and I'm really lucky and grateful for my space. But, you know, I understand things are tough and it's not perfect, and I understand everyone needs help, but I just kind of wish that people that got their rent paid for, like, I know people that are in a 2-bedroom apartment that pay $200 a month. I just really wish that every month it would be like, okay, now it's $250, now it's $300, cap out at $500 maybe, but like, give them some sort of thing to work toward. Like, maybe I can, like, because if you just have someone that's paying $200 a month, like, wow, what a life. Like, the amount of art I can make, like, the amount of, like, but no, I'm expected to pay my $1,400 every month, and I bring home, like, not, like, I don't bring home enough to, like, every month I'm just kind of like, okay, just YOLO, let's do this credit card, it's fine. Like, it's, I don't know, but that's not on Truckee, that's on the way of things are, which is unfortunate. And I'm grateful for Truckee and grateful for the artist lofts, and I'm very happy, and I love my space. It's beautiful. And yeah, like I said, if anyone wants to see any of my art, it will be here, and you can stream full stop on any streaming platform. And yeah, I don't know if anyone has any more questions, but I'll shut up now.
Thank you. Let's do one more,
sorry.
and then we gotta move on, but we'll have time at the end for
Okay.
more.
I was just curious if you could explain a little more about the 80-60-40 and what exactly that means in terms of your income.
So let's see. So they do like when you apply and you put in your paychecks and your pay stubs, it shows like if you make a certain amount, that's where you're placed. And at the time when I got in, I was on unemployment making a certain amount, right? I was like living the life on unemployment. And so I had like that, I was put in at 80%. Now I'm more of a 60%. Which doesn't sound like a lot, but it makes a huge difference. A couple extra $100 off your rent a month.
Do you know if it's like 60% of the value of what the lease should be, or what does that mean?
They have certain units that are designated as the percentages. So my studio apartment is an 80% studio apartment. So the only person that can be in my unit is an 80% income person. And it's weird because then they have these 3-bedroom apartments that are like, I mean, like I said, I was trying to get into a 2-bedroom for like 6 months. I had submitted all my pay stubs, and I was like, this is a 60% 2-bedroom. I would be paying $300 less and I would love to have, like, I'm not trying to sound ungrateful, but I would love to have a bedroom. Like, when I have friends over, you're in my room. Like, you're in my bedroom, you know? And I have a loft bed, so it doesn't, but I would love, I'm 37. Like, can I have a bedroom? Like, I don't want to sound like needy. I would love a closet, too. I don't have a closet, so, these are luxuries that I will one day have a walk-in closet. But that, I don't know. I'm not the best person to ask. I am the artist. But if you ask, yeah.
Yeah, it's and Lynn can speak more to this, but it's 80% of area median income. So, which is
yeah. So the state of California sets a median income level yearly based on the county. So the affordable housing complexes. Qualifications for the complex and then individual units within it are based your income compared to the median income for the county. So 80%, 60%, etc.
What's the current occupancy rate there?
Oh, it's, I mean, I don't know the number. I just know it's,
actually.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I mean, from what I've heard that it's full, there's a waiting list.
Yeah. There's a wait list, and I have like a lot of friends that have applied, and I've like, given my word that they're good, and they never hear back, so I don't know what's going on.
I'll tell you more about what you think. You had a good good idea with the increasing the rent.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I don't know who I have to talk to about that, but I'm happy to talk to because I for years.
President Trump in
Yeah.
Congress, yeah.
I can't even. I don't know who that is. I don't know who you're talking about. I don't know. It needs. That is a good idea though, and there needs to be some sort of incentive or something because it's not. It's just not. I know life's not fair. I know that. But it's not fair. Anyways, thank you so much for listening to me, and thank you. This is cool. I feel. Thank you.
And we should have time. I saw a couple other hands go up, so we should have time at the end for more questions. So, but want to make sure that we give everyone a chance to speak. So, next up, I'm going to invite Cynthia up, who is a recipient of the Tahoe Forest Hospital District Home Purchase Assistance Program. She's also my neighbor and has a very cute dog. This program is part of the Truckee Tahoe Workforce Housing Agency's employee partnership programs. Heidi is here also to ask that can answer some questions on this, but the Truckee Tahoe Workforce Housing Agency serves employees of its member agencies as well as other qualified employees within the geographic boundaries of the Truckee North Tahoe region. Primarily the focus is to facilitate housing solutions for households in the middle income bracket, defined as those making traditionally lower than 80% AMI levels. So that was a very good question for the AMI. So Cynthia, I'll go ahead and have you come up.
Hi, good morning everyone. I'm not a really good speaker and I'm really nervous, so bear with me. But I'm just here to tell my story. So I was born in Taiwan, grew up in New York City, and then moved to San Francisco, lived there for 18 years, so primarily a big city girl. And then pretty much I got removed from San Francisco when I went back home to look after my father, helping my mom. And then I moved back to San Francisco in the middle of COVID and decided that I wasn't ready to go back into working healthcare. I'm an occupational therapist. So I decided to just work for Amazon and kind of like figure out my way. And then eventually it was, time to go back to work. But I wasn't ready to settle back into San Francisco where I had lived for 18 years and had my community just based on the change of the city. And so I got into travel work. So I went, did some travel assignments in Marin, Sonora, Fresno, and then a climbing friend of mine introduced me to a guy that lived in Truckee or in Tahoe for about 30 years, and it's like, oh, he's a climber, sure, I'll go to Tahoe, I'll check it out. And so I was in a contract in Fresno at the time when I wasn't happy. I was like, let me see what's available. And so I just kind of went on Google and said, was like, okay, occupational therapist, see if there are any jobs available. And there was one job, but the fact that it was one position in this hospital, Tahoe Forest Hospital, I felt like, interesting. There's only one position in the hospital and it seems to be available. So I applied and I got the job like the day of. And I was like, okay, well, I don't know anyone there except for this guy, and I've never lived in a mountain town, but let me, give it a go. So I came up and I was trying to look for housing because I didn't think it was a good idea to move straight away in, but I couldn't find anything. I used my usual platforms, Craigslist that we used in San Francisco, but it was pretty much like it's word of mouth. And I'm like, well, I don't know anyone here. And so I didn't have a choice but to just, move in temporarily. And so got very lucky with a studio. And then the same landlord had a 2-bedroom available. So then we moved into that afterwards. So here I was, started my life at Tahoe Forest Hospital. I wound up really, really loving the hospital. I've been in OT for 18 years, worked in various hospitals in San Francisco, and actually thought I wanted to get out of healthcare because it was so difficult. But then I found Tahoe Forest and I was like, wow, like this place is a gem. Like I got to figure out a way to stay. And so the relationship didn't work out. And so here I was with a great place that I wanted to work. I got a husky. It's like, wait, I guess I really have to figure out a way to stay in the area. And I think because I had such a negative experience with my landlord. I didn't want to try to find a place to rent, although I knew the challenges of both, trying to find a place to rent and trying to find a place to buy. I knew both challenges, and I just had this decision that I had to make which way to go, because I had a very limited amount of time to find housing. And so I decided I wanted to go to the route of seeing what I can purchase, because of a negative experience that I have with a landlord, and just knowing that there aren't that many options for that. So I'm gonna, spend my energy to see if I could buy a place. And I just was on Zillow, like scrolling, I was like, yeah, I wonder how much things cost around here. And I was like, oh, wow, it's like really expensive. But then I wound up coming across on Zillow an advertisement for Hopkins Village. I just looked for like the lowest priced house, and I clicked on it and was like, okay, I think I could do this. And at the time I hadn't like worked with a mortgage broker, I had no idea what I could afford, but I just was like, I gotta figure it out. And so I clicked on it and I read through the description, and there were qualifications to be able to qualify to buy at Hopkins Village, and I had no idea, and I was like, okay, let me just try. And so I sent in an application, and I literally heard from someone like a couple days later. It was really, really fast. I just submitted my pay stubs where I worked, and I heard back in like 2 days, and was like, yeah, you won the next person in line. I felt like I won the lottery. And so the process with that was like super easy. I had, I didn't have to work with a real estate agent. I just worked with the lady, I guess she represents the developers. Yeah, and so I met with her. It was the one and only house that I looked at. Like, there was no shopping around. Like, this is the only thing I had, which actually made the decision a lot easier, right? It's like, okay, I can't nitpick like, oh, I need a bigger closet, or, this is what I had. And it was like, do you want a place to live? Do you want to own this place and live in it? And so I was, the program, I'm not sure of the details, but pretty much when you win the next person in line, no one else can get a place until you decide. So pretty much like I had to make a decision quick, so I didn't want to hold up a place for somebody else. And so, but yeah, like I said, I was kind of new in town. I'd just been here 2 years, and I didn't, I was, she introduced me to a mortgage broker, and that process just, it just kind of kept rolling. I was like, okay, I guess this is, the way I'm going. And then it turns out that I, didn't have enough money for a down payment. So I kind of feel like I double dipped in what this community had to offer. At the I found at the hospital that they offered a loan for my down payment. And so I was like, really? Like, that's amazing. And so, so I, got into 2 different programs, and I got to stay and have to give my puppy a really good life. And I got to work in a hospital at a place that I didn't think was possible to stay in the career that I wanted to stay in. So that's my story. Any questions? Yes.
Yeah, can you just describe Hopkins Village for people that don't know where it is?
Oh, yes.
What kind of houses they are?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's located near the airport. It's off of Schaefer's Mill, and it's they're townhouses. And I'm not sure how many there are exactly, but I know there's still like 6 or 7 available. There's actually one of my neighbors right now, and I would love some. So there are 2 like houses attached, and they're really well built. I mean, there are problems for considering they're new builds, but I think like the way they were designed was like really smart. Like the garage, the garage space share. Like you feel like you have like your privacy. I've been to other, neighbors' homes, and you don't hear anything. And so it's just a really great community. There's a little park at the end, and there's like our backyard. It's just all forested. It's really beautiful. All the master bedrooms are designed where you see all the trees, which you don't see when you live in the city. What else? They're all 3 bedrooms and 2.5 baths. They're built up, and so all the bedrooms are upstairs. Yeah.
I have a 6-month-old neighbor, and we've never heard her cry.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so they are built
Yeah.
to not hear your neighbor. Bruce.
Yeah, so how did you find out about the loan program through the hospital? Did somebody tell you, the mortgage broker?
Yeah, so actually, my mortgage broker, Victoria, she's amazing. Yeah, she seems to be everyone's mortgage broker. I'm like, this girl's really busy. But we were crunching a lot of numbers. So just a little, I don't know if I should reveal this, but I do feel like I should be honest. I tried to apply for other grants in the area, and I did not qualify because I'm not considered a first-time buyer. So I own half of a condo with my mom in San Francisco that she helped me pay for. And because of my ailing father, when he passes, it's going to go to her, so she's going to live in. So I couldn't sell it, and a lot of the programs here, I didn't qualify because of that, because I co-own this place. And so Victoria was helping me crunch numbers. We were trying to figure out anything. And then all of a sudden, it just popped up in her head. She's like, wait a second, I just closed with another client that used a loan from the hospital. I'm like, wait, I work at the hospital. I don't know about any loan. And she's like, oh yeah, no, da da da. And so I got the details from her, and she knew who to contact at the hospital. And so yeah, she helped me facilitate all of this. Like, I'm just so grateful for her and to this community that there are even these programs that exist.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, Heidi with the Truckee Tahoe Workforce Housing Agency. The Home Purchase Assistance Program is something that we administer through the Workforce Housing Agency, and so we're really grateful to hear Cynthia's story today, to hear the good news about receiving a loan through the hospital. The hospital has provided nearly $1.6 million in loans. We've closed 10 loans since 2023. It's been very popular, and they continue to approve $900,000 a year toward the program. It's also one of 2 programs. We also have a home purchase assistance program through the airport district as well for their employees. So it's very, very popular and helpful for the employees. So anyone, if you work at the hospital or the airport, please give us a call. We have very qualified people to help support that whole process.
And Heidi, those are loans, right? So you do have to pay it back if you,
correct.
like,
Correct. Yeah. And you don't have to pay it back until you sell the home, but a lot of people do make payments toward it as well. So.
I used Marta's fund to purchase when we purchased in Hopkins, which is also a loan, so we're just never going to sell.
And I'm never leaving the hospital because it's a great place to work, and I love it there.
All right, thank you, Cynthia. And happy to talk more about Hopkins Village offline too. There are 6 more units. They just closed on 1 more this week. So we do have a few more open still if you want to be our neighbors. All right, so last but definitely not least, I'm going to invite Aaron up here. So he's a real estate consultant who lives and works in the Truckee and the North Tahoe region. And he recently purchased a small property in Tahoe Donner, which he converted from a short-term rental to a long-term rental. So take it away. And you can just use these to...
Thank you very much. And I do want to thank the other speakers. I think you're really the voices we really need to be hearing. I'm bringing a little bit of a different perspective. So I'm a Truckee resident, a property owner. I've also been really fortunate to work with many of you on housing policy in the Truckee North Tahoe region. I didn't have any involvement with the setup of lease to locals in Truckee or Placer County. I do know the people that run the program. They're wonderful. And I did check with everyone to make sure that this was kosher before entering into anything. So for those that aren't as familiar, I'm here to speak about the Lease to Locals program that's run by Placemates that was started in Truckee. The goal of the program is to convert housing to long-term rental. That could be a short-term rental, it could be a vacation home, but it's essentially providing incentives to property owners to transition their property to a long-term rental. And I sort of view this as a near-term strategy to try and just expand the pool of rental housing as quickly as you can. There are some qualification requirements. So the town of Truckee's program, the property has to be located within the town boundary. The property can't have had long-term renters for the last 12 months. Our property was a second home and a short-term rental prior to our purchasing it. You have to lease the property for a minimum period of time. There's a couple of different options. So you can do seasonal, ski lease, 5-6 month leases, or you can do a 12-month lease. That's what we've done. And the compensation that the property owner gets varies depending on the term of the lease, the number of qualifying tenants, etc. You have to have at least half of the tenants that are employed within the TTUSD boundary, just like many of the other programs, for a minimum amount of time. And there are some income limitations for the qualifying tenants. Here's the compensation schedule for the property owner. So depending on the number of qualified tenants, the term of the lease, you get a different cash amount. We ended up with 2 qualified tenants. They're really wonderful people. She works for 2 different childcare facilities in town. He works for Tahoe Donner. And we did a 12-month lease, and our intent is to hopefully keep them on longer term. Here's the actual property. So it had been on the market for 4 or 5 months at that time, which was actually an important consideration for me because I didn't want to be buying a unit that other workforce households might have been competing for. So it'd been on the market for quite a long time. It's a 1970s gambrel, definitely a little funky, needed a whole new roof. Needed some other maintenance and repairs. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, but it also has a loft space that had been previously used as sort of a separate sleeping area. It's only about 1,200 square feet, but it does have an in-unit laundry. It does have a detached 2-car garage. So it was originally listed for $720 in fall of 2023. We didn't purchase it until April. We ended up getting under contract at $675. But then we ended up putting about $50K into it. We replaced the roof. We added about 3 inches of closed cell foam on the exterior because the unit's not insulated. So that seemed kind of important. We're going to put some more into it this summer. We're going to put in a natural gas stove, so there's a second heat source. Right now it's currently all electric, just to make it more livable. You can see the blue carpet that I believe is original. Interesting place. So our reasons for purchasing the property, admittedly, there was some self-interest in this. I am dealing with aging parents. My mom passed away last year. My father is almost 80. He lives off the grid in the foothills on 10 acres. He's having a hard time managing that property. I'm trying really hard to convince him to move here so that I can help him on a daily basis. That's been a very scary choice for him, both losing the independence but also spending money either on a property. I talked to him a little bit about renting. He didn't like the idea of not knowing where he was going to land. We talked about maybe building an ADU. I got an architectural quote on building an ADU of $500,000 for 800 square feet. We bought this for $675. It's a detached property. So if we ever ended up in a financial hardship, we could sell this property and not have to sell our primary home. That was a big consideration for me. I also have a daughter. She's 7 years old. She goes to Truckee Elementary. And I've seen the trajectory of the housing situation in this community. And I have concerns about her ability to stay here if she wants to as she gets older and as she matures and wants to start her own household. So I like the idea of having something secured for her if she ever wanted it. Obviously, I work in the housing space as well, and I was never going to make this a short-term rental. That's off the table. And I like the idea of being able to provide long-term housing for people in my community, especially for such wonderful people that are doing important jobs. So there were a lot of positives to taking on this property. We are renting it for $3,000 a month. That's not inexpensive. It does not cover our full cost of owning and holding the property. Again, we've got a 12-month lease. We're hoping to roll that over. The lease to locals program, we did qualify there. It doesn't fully offset our holding costs for the first year. There really is no option for additional funding moving forward. And there is the Rooted Renters program. I don't think we're going to pursue that. But this is going to be a net drain on our household finances, but it's something that we're fortunate enough that we can absorb, and we'll continue providing this housing moving forward. Just wanted to comment briefly on how I see this sort of fitting in the broader spectrum. So Lease to Locals, I think, is a great program. I think it's sort of a near-term strategy to provide housing really quickly. But I want to acknowledge what many in this community and in this room are already working on to provide other sort of medium and long-term strategies to fix things so that maybe you don't have to provide this kind of a program indefinitely. And with that, I'm open to questions, and thanks for having me. Yeah.
I can't remember where you said you bought it. How interest rate sensitive is your?
Yeah. Part of the calculus.
A break-even point.
Yeah, that's a great question. So part of the calculus was with the expectation that rates were going to drop. They haven't really done what I was hoping they would do. I was hoping to be refinancing right about now, which would have dropped us to a point where we'd be at more or less a break even, right? So part of why Lease to Locals was helpful for our decision making is it helped kind of fill that gap for the first year, and I was hoping to refi and drop that monthly payment down. And we're going to probably keep the property regardless, and keep renting it because the extra that it's costing us each month is something I think we can handle, but that was part of the decision.
Being kind of a policy nerd, if someone was offering a subsidized interest rate for a Lease to Locals program, that could be helpful.
Yeah, that could be very helpful, just to help the property owner get their holding costs to a place that's at least break even, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, so as Brittany mentioned, you don't have to use the THAP funding for the down payment if you have other down payment, and we have had people can buy down their interest rate with the THAP funds. So you can't do both THAP and Lease to Locals, but that is an option that's out there with the THAP is buying down interest rate.
Yeah, a lot of creativity.
You can't do both. You can't do both at the same time. Or did you just say you can't do both at the same time?
So Lease to Locals is only for properties that were previously not being used as long-term rentals and don't have any sort of workforce housing deed restrictions. And once the home was purchased through TAP, it has a workforce housing deed restriction, so that'd be kind of double dipping.
Yeah, okay, got it.
Can you briefly expand on just that
Sure.
last slide, what the medium and long-term solutions might be? What do you mean?
Yeah. So I threw a few examples up here. There are others. So there's the Housing Hub with the ADU Accelerator program. The idea of getting more accessory dwelling units built with the intention of those becoming rental units. The Placer Launchpad program, so that's something that's still under development, but basically the county's looking at providing funds to developers to build deed-restricted workforce housing, new units, versus just restricting existing units. Various employee housing requirements. I'm a big believer in the workforce housing deed restriction concept, especially recognizing how expensive it is to build units. And we've got a very large portion of our housing stock that's being used for second homes and short-term rentals. And so it can be more cost-effective to purchase deed restrictions on those units that already exist versus building new ones. And that's what THAP and the Placer County Preservation Program are doing. But there's other ways to approach it as well.
And then economic diversification, why
Yeah.
be a long-term?
Yeah, so long-term solutions, workforce development, doing things to invest in our residents that allow them to upskill and bring in higher wages. Economic diversification, bringing in jobs that are less, service-based, that aren't just retail and restaurants, but other things that can drive higher salaries that are more in line with housing costs. And then if we're successful with some of these other strategies of securing workforce deed restrictions and whatnot, hopefully we get to a point where we're just preserving that inventory and not letting the second home market eat into it.
And why'd you leave out more multi-family housing?
Yeah, so that's a great addition. I left it out because I was doing this late yesterday after working the whole weekend, and I'm a little fried, so I apologize for leaving that out. Yeah.
Any final questions for any of our speakers or any thoughts?
Thank you.
Thank you, Erin. Katie.
This is more for Lynn, but I'm wondering if the Nevada County AMI determined by the state is actually applicable.
Well, it is kind of our only choice right now, but the Truckee AMI from calculations that actually probably Erin did is Truckee's AMI is significantly higher than the Nevada County overall AMI, which results in when the AMI levels for the state and federal funded programs are capped at 80, 120. Their manager at Starbucks, manager at McDonald's makes too much to be able to qualify for some of the affordable housing. So that is a real challenge. It is something that we've asked our lobbyists to look at, to push for, but haven't got a ton of traction on that. But it is, that is one of the reasons why the town's specific programs focus on those higher AMI, that, missing middle that most people probably have heard of by this point, that people who make too much for the state and federal subsidized programs but don't make enough to actually enter the market, and that's why the town's programs is focused on that missing middle.
Can I speak a little more to that, Lynn? So actually, when I first applied for the program, I was rejected for that very reason. My husband and I worked for Town Truckee in the police department. I was a supervisor and just started at that at the time. My husband works for TTUSD, and he's in the highest paid section of their classified staff. So we got rejected because we were, I want to say it was less than $500 over the AMI. We thankfully had the opportunity, and THAP was very reassuring and helpful about this, that AMI rates are refreshed annually. So we ended up applying the next week, and we barely squeaked through. But yeah, that was a real discouraging factor to the program of and for this whole process in general, I mean, you feel like you're doing everything correctly, you're giving back to the community, and you just want some way to get in. So I would say that if anyone's interested in applying, just keep trying, because it's not a totally closed door, but just have those facts before you make your application.
Any other thoughts? Yeah.
I was just curious about, and this isn't necessarily talked about today, but there's a lot of kind of prefab housing happening over near the mobile homes, over near the rec center, and I was curious, what is that? Does that work with one of the programs locally? It seems to be a good little cost on how, like $400,000 for one of those units, and I was just curious, how is that working, and might we need to see more of that?
Are you talking about what was formerly known as Coachlands piece?
Yes, ish, I think.
Yeah, because I'm sorry, it's Village.
It's Village Camp.
Thank you, Village Camp.
It's not Coachland anymore?
They just rebranded.
It's still Coachland Mobile Home Park, and the RV section is Village Camp Truckee.
Yeah.
What are they going to do with the Coachland side? No, it's still
It's going to be the same.
Oh, okay. Still there.
Yeah, it's still there. Yeah. I don't have an answer.
Okay.
I don't know if anyone does. Yeah, Lynn.
Just a little bit on the prefab. I'm mostly familiar with it from our accessory dwelling unit program, and one of the things that we've looked into is because people are interested in prefab and modular ADUs. A lot, when you're first searching, do not meet the Truckee's snow load requirements or the WUI interface. We actually have a resource on the website now that is modular ADU companies that do build to our snow load, meet our design standard, all of that. One of the things we have found, though, especially with ADUs, is they are not actually that much cheaper. Like, the advertised price can look cheaper, but especially by the time you're doing finishes and meeting the snow load requirements and all of that, it's not much cheaper than stick built. The advantage is it seems, from what we've heard, the price doesn't seem to continue to go up. You know what you're doing from the start, and your site isn't torn up as long with our short building season. That's very helpful. But especially on the ADU scale, for like an individual, it is not much cheaper, if at all, than stick built, especially depending what you're getting.
It certainly is a time saver.
Yes, yeah.
That's 1 week, and you get to build over certain months. For sure.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you again, everyone, for coming. We're going to switch gears and do some stump speeches, but I just want to say this is a program that was really close to my heart because I, also used Hopkins Village Mars Fund to be able to stay here. When I moved here, I was kind of like, oh, I don't know what we're going to do long term, and it's worked out really great. So I appreciate hearing everyone's stories, and we'll continue to work on this issue. Does anyone have any stump speeches? We're going to go ahead and start with Robert in the back.
Hi, guys. I'm a retired civil engineer, but I've worked for agencies, and there's a fire down in Southern California. Have you guys heard about it?
Yeah.
And there's also an insurance crisis that's going to happen or has happened. What I come to realize is we need to harden the town of Truckee. We've hardened our houses, but we've got to take a town look at it because we don't want to go through what those people are going through. And in order to harden, we got to get the water district, the fire district, the town of Truckee to have a subcommittee or a task force to look at all the ways to make Truckee more resistant to a conflagration like's going on in Southern California. The good news is if we start now, we can get something in place within the next few years. I kind of have the idea, but I'm looking for support. So I'm going to go around to each one of those districts, and they're going to give me 3 minutes, and I'm going to try to sell it. But I think everybody in the community has to recognize that we need to undertake this undertaking now and to make ourselves resistant to a conflagration. I don't mind losing 10 or 20 houses. I just don't want to lose 10,000. So I'm going to try to be the vehicle, but I don't have any standing. I'm just a member of the public, but I do have the solution. So thank you for your time.
Anyone else with a stump speech?
Crystal from Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation. 2 announcements. The high school scholarship process opens for applications next Monday. And second, we wanted to share our final numbers from Give Back Tahoe campaign. The total donated was $782,000, very close. That benefited 65 nonprofits. We had 908 donors, and 485 volunteer hours were also donated during the campaign.
Awesome. Bruce.
Hi, my name is Bruce Lee. I'm a new board member for My Hometown Heroes, which is a nonprofit organization that gives scholarships to cancer survivors ages 17 to 39. We have our deadline for the next round of scholarships is in 2 weeks. So if you know of anybody who's interested, looking to go to college, trade school, community college, that's a cancer survivor, have them reach out to myhometownheroes.org or just come talk to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Melissa.
This is very well ahead, but the Truckee Job Fair will be April 30th at the Steve Randall Community Rec Center. So contact me, Melissa at Truckee.com if you're an employer and want to do this.
It'll be here before we know it. Yeah, Amber.
My name's Amber. I'm with Satellite Photography. I just wanted to let you guys know that I give discounts to nonprofits to do events. I did the Truckee Community Chorus. I did photograph their event. So if you need real estate photography, portrait photography, wedding photography, I went to Rocky Mountain School of Photography. I am your gal. So please hit me up afterwards. Thank you.
Thanks. All right. I just have one. Councilmember Henderson is working this morning to sort through all the donations that the community gave over the last week. She's at the rec center today until about 11:30. So if you have some time and you're willing to go help, she's looking for more people to help with that. And then door prize. Oh, it's right here. All right.
Jessica?
Yes, sorry, Kat.
Question with regard to donations, a little bit of confusion, at least on my part. Are they still accepting donations?
If you bring them to the rec center at this point, yes.
And whereabouts is she in the rec center?
There's signs, yeah. Yeah. But I stopped by the Welcome Center yesterday and we had our break room was pretty much full of stuff, so it's really great. Thank you for everyone that donated. All right. The first thing we've got is a return ticket to GMT. Jenny. That's right. She's a sponsor, so it was attached to someone else. Well, Erica's an ambassador. That doesn't work either. All right. Oh my God, it's awesome. Jenny, did you do 2?
She had a travel mug. The second one.
How about you can have the tin of cookies, because I picked your name out twice, so that doesn't feel fair.
Thank you.
And Kath for the return ticket, of course. And then next we have a bookkeeping services for tax prep, $200 value. Good thing for this time of year.
No, I don't even really have a
Blank. Crystal. And then last we have a California baseball hat from the Truckee Welcome Center. Oh, she already left. Right. Brad. Brad's still here? Yeah. Congratulations. All right, well, thank you all so much. We will see you in February for an update on developments that are happening in our community.